society that
Good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting Medusa's crown. Okay, I'm going to start with a little detail work on the central figure, the Rye woman, and specifically her head and the sun around it. So I've got some light purple blue for the highlights of the upper kernels or her face and ergot rye formations, fungal bodies, and the gold and sienna mixed up for the rest of the lower portion kernels if we get that far, and then some deep yellow to go around again the aura of her head, and then some white to lighten the rest of the sun to make it sort of glow. So here we go. Where's the crazy cat at? Let's see here.
My name is Jutaka Cheloshi. I'm 43 years old. I come from a family of Thai restaurant owners. I moved away when I was 14. I was never good enough. I mean, I think if I had parents who didn't really care and was lenient, I don't think I would have really got right into it and really got addicted. I might have just, tried it once or twice. But I think the pressure was on from the upbringing and having to feel like I had to achieve and be the best at what I did, an A student. And so when I moved away, I really wanted to prove, not to just myself, but to them, that I was more than what they saw. I did apply to Stanford University. That was my number one choice. I was disappointed I didn't get in. And San Francisco State University was my second choice. And while there, I did do the same things that I was doing when I was in high school, playing for the NCAA, singing, choir. We're doing so many things, pledging sororities and being different club members. I'm saying I was just trying to find my way in the world. And then I started to work at the nightclubs here. And so I think that's when I really evolved, because I wanted to do everything. I wanted to go to school, I wanted to work, but I needed to do homework as well. So the pressure was on then. So then it got into heavier drugs, so I needed the meth to stay up.
I think our society just doesn't understand addiction. Without the addiction, they feel incomplete. They feel this huge emptiness inside. So the addiction was to complete themselves and to somehow temporarily cover up the emptiness. Why the finger pointing? Why the judgments on a particular group of people who are addicted, who happen to use substances? My first job that I had as a physician in Vancouver after I did my internship was actually in the downtown east side of Vancouver. Because North America's most concentrated and most dramatic area of drug use, where there's more people ingesting and inhaling all kinds of substances than anywhere else on the planet. And I go to this old broken down hotel with cracky paint on the walls, and there were strange people walking in and out, and I felt totally at home right away. And after 2 years, I shifted to my full-time work to the downtown side.
So I worked there for 12 years. And they all suffered tremendous trauma as children, which also meant that their addictions were extreme. They were quite willing to sacrifice love, life, relationship, health, just for the next hit. They were that desperate to escape from reality, because reality had been so cruel to them.
We were dealing with people with severe infections. They would inject drugs that would give them abscesses not only in their skin or their muscles, but also in their brains, in their spinal cord, in their joints. So they had to be hospitalized, which is the only facility where you can deliver IV antibiotics several times a day. But they were users, so there'd be always this funding from the hospital, and even using the IV lines to inject them. So inevitably they'd be kicked out of hospital, which means that their life-threatening infections would be untreated. This is how I met Jordan Carter. I think I pushed him across an intersection once in his wheelchair. Maybe that's the first time he ever in that.
And you helped me out and you said, what are you doing? Okay, enough's enough. I'm going to admit you to CPCT, are you going to go there? And I was like, well, what about my addiction? And I said, well, what are you using? And I said, well, I've been using morphine. And that's all. I said, how many will you give me a day? He said, as many as you have in your pocket.
By meeting people where they're at and treating them like human beings and not trying to change them actually opens up the possibility of transformation for them. And Julie's a prime example.
They'd come in like every 4 hours to give me my morphine, and I wasn't eating it. I was saving it. Right? And I woke up and it was like morphine all over the bed, and I thought I was in heaven.
I do recall your poetry. I mean, you were a very avid writer.
Yeah.
And you shared some of that with me. Is there one, that you can recite now?
Yep. It goes, misbehave when I crave, push the venom in my veins. I lose all control of my inner soul and my demons hold the reins. I deceive whoever believes I twist their open trust. With nefarious precision and tunnel vision, I pursue the venom of lust. With the desire so strong, I forget all bonds, serving the ones I adore. And even though they love me, they move on from me, let me fight my war. Uncontrollable, I'm inconsolable, slowly I'm dying inside. The glutton of such, I've used too much, now there's no life in my arms.
Talk to you guys about why you think you got addicted. Like, what did it do for you in the short term that you wanted that you appreciated?
But one thing that I've learned was gratification through sex. Like, it would pay my rent, it would pay my food, it would pay my clothes. There was also a feeling of love.
Feeling like,
Having that desire for somebody to care and
want you.
want you.
I wouldn't be able to have a sexual relationship if I wasn't doing it, because I couldn't feel anything towards the other person.
You made you feel alright.
Yeah, it made me feel more into,
Yeah.
like that's what I used it to have feelings.
I didn't feel pretty, I didn't feel like, and as soon as I would do a little bit of drugs, my self-esteem would instantly go up. I did so much sports and was on such a strict schedule that when I started to use in like grade 8, grade 9, like I was free.
So freedom, sense of aliveness, completion, self-esteem. These are all wonderful things, aren't they? When they talk about addiction being a bad choice, they know it isn't. It's actually a solution to a problem. If we understand that the addiction is not the primary problem, but really a response to trauma, then it becomes obvious that in order to heal addiction, you have to go to trauma. It means that you see the wound that's driving that person. Underneath that traumatized persona, there's the healthy individual who has never found expression in his life because they were never given the venue for expression, never given the relationships in which their all authentic humanity could be expressed. Are we free? Are we conscious? Are we making a decision based on full awareness? Or are we driven by unconscious dynamics that we've inherited or that we developed as a response to childhood trauma? Well, insofar as we're not conscious, we're not free. We have then a social structure that induces trauma in a lot of people, therefore it induces escapist addictive behaviors in a lot of people, and those inner trends line up with how society looks like on the outside, so therefore all this looks perfectly normal and perfectly natural. fundamentally the messages are the minds who create the world. So if I have a worldview that the world is a horrible place, then I'm going to live in a world where I have to be aggressive, suspicious, competitive, and make myself as big as possible so everybody can like me. So I have to be grandiose and cunning, because that's the world I'm in. And these are the people that our society rewards with power.
Do you think that the inability of these individuals to manifest real change is a demonstration that what we have are deeply entrenched and traumatized systems that are predicated on unconscious choices, unconscious drives, and that the system cannot, will not alter itself from within itself, but will sustain itself? And it's only sort of new, radical ideas that can alter it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Large segments of the economy survive because people buy things that give them temporary pleasure but do them no good whatsoever in the long term. In fact, they're even harmful. I mean, we're going so far as to destroy the earth because we're the disconnect from the body of the earth, it really has to do with the disconnect from our own bodies. The two are together. And the exploitation of the earth as if it was something separate from us has a lot to do with patriarchal domination. I mean, we talk about Mother Earth. Look what we're doing to Mother. It's a mother hatred almost. It speaks to a blindness and a passivity, which itself is a marker of societal and collective trauma. Our schools are full of kids with learning difficulties, mental health issues that are trauma-based. But the average teacher never gets a single lecture on trauma. They're fundamentally working with an essential lack of information. I should barely mention the criminal justice system has no understanding or even acquaintance with the concept of trauma. In fact, they often create policies that further deepen people's trauma. That these institutions need to be informed of what trauma is and how to respond to it.
I've been in custodies of different states and counties since 18. I struggled with addiction, and they were sending me to these places to get the help that you need. I had nothing but the authorities telling me it was my fault. Because you're choosing this, and I can't keep choosing. You're supposed to trust and believe in these people. California industrialized prison.
Trauma doesn't know a color, trauma doesn't know an age, trauma doesn't know a tax bracket, trauma doesn't know any of these things. Anybody can be traumatized, anybody. Symptoms of trauma, nightmares and night terrors, inability to love, addictive behavior, insomnia, depression, shame.
That's not who you are, but it's a symptom of being traumatized. And we're here to heal each other.
We heal in community. When I do these circles with anybody, when they see the extent of childhood trauma in themselves, but also in the people around them, it's a shift. It takes the othering out. It actually brings a human in. And that, as a society, is one of the imperatives that we need to get to. We got to start seeing each other for what happened to us and not what's wrong with us.
My name is Romy Nottage. I am the Senior Director of San Francisco and Social Innovation for Downtown Streets team. That is changing the lives of people who are currently homeless through the dignity of work. Labeling people as just drug addicts, like, it's deeper than that. They probably at a younger age have been reinforced that their value is not as significant as others. The pain is the root cause of people trying to feel comfortable in this world. Using street drugs is a method. It is a behavior to support something that is uncomfortable.
I was homeless for about 15 years. It is the survival of the fittest. I had 3 kids on the street while homeless, walking around, no shoes, selling drugs, doing drugs, hoping they would miscarry. All the babies came out with everything. Meth, crystal, cocaine, everything you could think of. I did utilize those 3 moments in time where I had those babies to just rest up in a nice place and eat a hot meal. Just basically took a shower those 3 times because while I was homeless. Most of us don't shower, maybe once a year if that. But I was lucky I had the same foster mom. All 3 boys, Albert, Judson, and James, are all thriving. They're very healthy. I did fight for them, don't get me wrong, I did try to fight for them, but I wasn't ready to give up the drug life.
It was fall, so it was the rainy season. I just remember that I was worried about where was I going to go then? Would I find shelter? Because there's nowhere to go, right? The people that did love me just said, you know what, we're not going to stand by anymore while you kill yourself. We can't do it. It's hurting more. You're dying a harder death than you are. And they just scattered from my life. I was utterly alone.
I've been in the city on the streets now for 4 years. Went to college on my GI Bill. I was in the Army for a total of 11 years. Then I got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and I retired. My PTSD comes from experiences with trying to beat this monkey on my back, you know. I've had the beautiful home and vehicles and wife and kids and thrown it all away for thanks.
So when you pass by someone homeless on the street, that is such a painful world to live in. And a very important thing to do is acknowledge them and not pretending or literally thinking that no one's sitting right there.
How are you doing? Hanging in there? Had a rough sleep last night? Did you stay in the TL?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been here?
I moved here February the 7th.
The number one thing that people who are experiencing homelessness suffer from is feeling looked down on. It's like people just passing by them, not acknowledging their experience. That forms an identity that is internalized. Their sense of self has been attacked. Their dignity has been completely reinforced as non-existent every single day. Humanization of homelessness is where we need to start. Because we're working with people, we're working with nervous systems, we are working with deflated and traumatized senses of self. To be honest, if I lived in that world, I would want to use too. It'd get me out of it. It'd make me feel not like that for a minute.
Hey, Dwayne, you home? It's Tessa. Hey, how are you?
I'm Tessa. I'm a harm reduction specialist in Abode Housing Services. I help people move through the pain of their addiction and regain dignity.
Oh my gosh, your place looks amazing.
I took this job because of the harm reduction approach where people get housing. You don't have an agenda, you must do this or that in order to access housing. You're worthy of housing. Because housing should be a right. When people get housed after they've been outdoors for 7, 15, 25 years, whatever the number is, you're alone. You don't have survival to do. So this is when I'm starting to see everybody's pain start surfacing. And people are starting to have, you know, more challenges and emotional challenges than they did have on the streets. Dr. Gabor Mate, when I found his teachings, and specifically the realm of the hungry ghost, kind of changed my outlook in life. I'm very dear to this work.
I'm Gabor's wife and I have been for close to 50 years. I met Gabor in October of 1967 when I was a first year student at UBC. I saw in the student newspaper that they were looking for cartoonists, and I draw. I walked into this small room and he's sitting there reading a book, and I said, my name's Ray. I'm supposed to draw you. Would you mind just sitting there? This is it. I did this before I knew who he was, before I'd had a conversation. What a mysterious guy. Dark, you know, intense. It was so interesting to me.
I've always been I mean, in communist Hungary, in grade 6, my teacher wrote in my report card that you should watch it because it incites the other students. But so that tendency to resist arbitrariness, what I'm being told and what the official line is. So I'm really not one for groupthink, and it really helps me to see through all kinds of nonsense that people accept without questioning. On a personal level, I'm also a contradiction. My longing is really a sense of being excluded from something, a sense of impossibility, and I'm very easy to go there. I mean, that is my baseline.
Very early in my meeting with Gabor, I saw clearly the light that he was and the dark that he was. So I saw brilliance, and I saw real, I guess trauma is the word I'd use now, but I didn't know then. To me it was dark. And of course by then I knew he was directly had been in the Holocaust. But it was going to be my job to heal him, to bring out that light. I really believe that the purpose of marriage is to actually go back to the original trauma, which comes from the family. I married a man who was so much like my father.
My scientific interest as well has been having to do with mental trauma. It was in my 40s. I was a very successful physician, and I was a national columnist for a Canadian newspaper, and I was the head of the palliative care department at a major Canadian hospital, and I was depressed and alienated in a difficult marriage, and my children were scared of me, and I didn't like being alive.
Well, there's just nothing more frustrating to be in a situation to see him out there doing this amazing work, just the healing and the wisdom and the support, and then come home and be completely exhausted, irritable, and then I get the negativity. I have to be me. I have to be authentic. My nervous system is so wired that if I'm not authentic to myself, I'm sick. I have a stomachache. I can't sleep. I'm anxious. And it's usually here. It's usually something in the stomach.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when I would compulsively shop to come like this in my way, they would get neckies. And after a while, she figured out if I got a necky, this guy's lying to me.
He doesn't get away with anything.
Yeah.
How are you, Gabor Mate, not processing your trauma?
How am I not supposed to?
Yeah, because like if you're not doing it, that's like Steve Jobs going, I couldn't get my phone to work.
That's another traumatized person, by the way, whose cancer had everything to do with the childhood trauma that he experienced.
But that's another book and another story.
So you sort of a bit like in the Matrix when Neo sees everything's made out of numbers. You look at people and you see all their trauma and damage.
That's what I see. Until I realized that I was traumatized, which really wasn't in my late 30s and mid 40s. And I began to realize that it didn't have to be this way, that there were reasons for it, and I started looking for the reasons. So I started waking up fairly late in life. I was a driven workaholic doctor. Now, why was I a driven workaholic doctor? Because the message I got as an infant is that the world didn't want me. Now, having good was nothing wanted, and makes what needed. So if you're traumatized and if you don't think you're lovable, my God, go to medical school. Now they're going to want you all the time. When they're dying, when they're being born, every moment in between. And that's highly addictive. Because you get the validation all the time. A lot of people that go into medicine, the last thing they want is to be open and vulnerable. In fact, what they want is the authority of the white coat and the stethoscope. And medical school is very hard on people. You might look at it almost as a selection process that weeds out the people that are too vulnerable. The long hours, the deference to unreasonable authority, the stress that you are going to subject yourself to. And these are the people that, like me, become physicians. So that selects out against the vulnerable. I went to medical school here at UBC. At that time, we did not get a single lecture of trauma. We did not even hear the word. We still don't hear the word trauma in medical school. So I've looked at the whole range of human experience from birth to death, because I've worked in obstetrics and I've worked in palliative care and everything else in between. The modern medical paradigm in practice separates mind from the body, and it separates the individual from the environment. So when you look at, there's an epidemic of asthma right now in North America, more and more people, the kids are being diagnosed with it. It's all about, or largely about, the increasing stress in our society. So it's a cultural manifestation, and this is completely missing in medical practice. If you look at Black Americans are more likely to get prostate cancer, and more likely to die of it, and not because of lack of medical care. But maybe there's something about being a minority in this particular culture that is so highly stressful that it deranges the immune system. If you look at the asthmatic Afro-American woman, is that asthma a manifestation of her own pathology, or is it reflecting a social malaise? Which means the emotion, whatever you experience, probably suppressed rage or shame, whatever you experience, actually affects the physiology of your lungs. Medicine is very interesting that way. If you go to a dermatologist with an inflamed skin, what kind of cream are they going to give you? Anybody know? Steroid cream, right? If you go to a rheumatologist with an inflamed joint, what medication are they going to give you? Steroid radio. If you go to
Okay, slow blending, take two, coming up.
With inflamed intestines,
Take two.
what kind of medication are you getting? Steroids. No, what are steroids? They're copies of cortisol. What is cortisol? The stress hormone. We're treating everything with stress hormones. Maybe it should occur to us that stress has something to do with the onset of these conditions. The fundamental problem is capitalism, or I should say materialism. As long as the research is driven by the profits of pharmaceutical companies, what's going to drive the education of physicians except the profit motive of pharmaceutical companies? It's just obvious. People have to be seen as automatons, as beings without really emotional needs or spiritual needs. As globalization and globalized materialism spreads throughout the world, so is autoimmune disease spreading throughout the world in societies that hardly even knew them before. Diseases, whether mental or physical, are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. And that what we consider normal in this society is often actually insane. In the most health-obsessed human society ever, all is not well. In the U.S., the richest society in history, fully half of the citizens have chronic disorders such as high blood pressure or diabetes. Illness is when part of an organism starts working against the overall benefit of the organism. So that, say, in autoimmune disease, the immune system attacks the host organism. So a system that was designed by nature to
protect you, now turns against you. Self-division, which is meant to be in coordination with the needs of the entire organism, gets out of hand, and now you've got cancer. The search is always to find out what's wrong with the individual cell, or how you kill the abnormal cells. So the treatment is restricted to the biological plane. We either cut it out, or we poison it, or we burn it. That's our approach to treating cancer. Most chronic illness is a way of the body saying no when a person suppressed their nose in order to fit in. What I'm saying is that when an illness comes along, we can just look upon it as a nuisance to get rid of and an enemy to fight. Or we can say, okay, well, it's here now, what's the teaching? Which just doesn't mean that we don't accept treatment or we don't do our best to heal. But that as part of that healing process, we actually ask ourselves, what does this mean about my life and my relationships, and particularly about how I treat myself? What is the teaching?
My name is Tim. I'm 51 years old. I was given a diagnosis of prostate cancer about a year and a half ago. We actually had a full radical prostatectomy. So that means the whole removal of my prostate, which is no walk in the park. It's quite an extensive surgery. In October, they did a bone scan and found that there was multiple areas in my spine, ribs, and some pelvis that the cancer had metastasized to, which was devastating to me at the time. There was no need for me to have the operation. If someone has prostate cancer and they have the prostate removed but the cancer's still in their body, then the surgery hasn't done any good. There was no root cause analysis of why I got it. What I soon discovered was that everything was abandoned.
The average general practitioner under the insurance programs gets to see a person for 6 minutes, and the psychiatrist gets to see them for 10 minutes. What can you do in 10 minutes? You can adjust medications. And the average psychiatrist today is not trained in psychotherapy. They're trained in what's called biological psychiatry, which fundamentally means altering the biology of the brain by handing out prescriptions, which never get to the heart. So while I'm not dogmatically opposed to medications, on the contrary, I acknowledge their value in my own life, they are not the answer. And at the very best, they should be only as a stopgap measure until we get to work on the real issues. Why this disease? Why in this person? And why now? Unless I answer those questions, unless I ask those questions, we can't talk about wholeness. We can't talk about healing in the deeper sense.
I grew up in a family with a father who was very angry and never even realized it, because for me it was just natural and normal. As a kid, I didn't know any different, and I was very scared. Anytime I acted out in anger, it always backfired, so I could never express that anger. So I decided to go more on a healing journey myself and try to find out what could I do myself to be able to maybe cure this thing, or at least live longer, feel better, and address it at many different levels. So I turned to ayahuasca, maybe because of the anxiety and realizing, like, what's a deeper spiritual reason that I got this diagnosis? Why did I get this cancer? I got more out of ayahuasca in one journey than I probably did in 5 years of psychoanalysis.
What I know about ayahuasca and Indian addiction, ayahuasca being an Amazonian brew, which is the psychedelic qualities that it from these visions and deep experiences. So there was a ceremony here led by a Peruvian shaman, and within half an hour of having ingested the brew, it felt very much real, it felt very much like me. The body was new. Because I experienced a state of such deep love and gratitude, such as I had not recalled experiencing before. And I saw that all my old addictive behaviors were driven precisely because I hadn't been able to experience that kind of love and that kind of gratitude. That from that state, there's no need to look for anything else outside of yourself. And I also learned very shortly that the ayahuasca has the power to teach people about their trauma, to actually show them what happened to them. All of a sudden, oh yes, this is what happened. This is why I decided that life is unbearable. This is why I decided that I was unlovable. This is why I decided that I had to soothe myself from the outside because there was no peace inside. And immediately I said, I'm going to work with this. And once you start working with one psychedelic, then you become aware that there's a whole world out there, and there's a whole resurgence now in the healing powers of psychedelic modalities, and so are there other substances.
The deep therapeutic potential of psychedelics resides in the fact that they get the conditioned mind out of the way. So people have access to two aspects of reality that they're usually not in touch with. One is the deep trauma and pain that they're carrying that they can actually look at now. And in the appropriate, compassionate, safe context, they can experience these troubled emotions and mind states without having to be driven into insanity or having to escape. If you can use psychedelics, it has to be combined with very adept therapy at the same time.
So in my work with Tim tomorrow, we'll be using one of these modalities to see if he can be guided deep into himself. So some answers may emerge for the existential and life issues that he's facing. Hey Ben.
Hi, Carol.
Come in.
How are you? Good, thank you.
You all set?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Good, come on in. The medication will take about half an hour to take effect. And you're ready to just ingest it. You've been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Correct.
Stage 4 means that it's spread to elsewhere in the body.
Yes, it's spread to bone. Places in my spine, pelvis, and ribs.
In my view, people that without cancer tend to be nice people who are more concerned with the emotional needs of others than their own. And they have a hard time expressing healthy anger. And also they have this belief that they must not disappoint anybody. How do you feel when you perceive that somebody is not seeing you, is not listening to you?
I felt very sad. And probably a bit of a tinge of anger there too as well. Yeah.
So how about we rephrase that?
Anger. Yeah, I felt anger.
What do you feel in your body when you say those things? Just check with your body, what's happening there?
I feel a little bit energized from it. Just saying it, yeah. Absolutely. I feel a little bit more awake.
So you want to say deprive yourself of energy.
That makes me just really sad just thinking about that. Man, it feels good to feel. And underneath that, I just feeling this frustration. Fuck, it's too much energy to. I've been holding on to contain that. Pissed off. I have to keep fucking focusing on all this shit, working on myself. Fucking
So what is the thing that you need to keep in mind? They're trying to figure it out.
This little boy that just wants to be loved, accepted, unconditional, pleasant. And so we said that we don't have to be accepted, loved, others, and even when we're in church.
Still has this look. I should just be here and get everybody's. Fear runs, you know, a lot of fear to do that. Even though it always works, people get rid of it. That's what the workers are. All the work that we do. And being able to keep working. To make us so respectable and always nice and beautiful and all that. What do you feel? Okay, fear is there. I gotta do that. There's a space here for this to be a part of it. This seems too easy. It's got a lot more color.
I developed a method of therapy or exploration with people called compassionate inquiry. The essence of which is the belief that the truth is inside all of us. We just have to ask the right questions to help people arrive at the truth.
That clenched jaw could speak what we're saying.
I don't want this anymore.
What is the this that you don't want?
That's what I don't know.
If we didn't shut our mouths like this, what is it that wants to come out that we're not letting out?
Rage.
Yeah, that is the inquiry. How do you feel about it?
And there's a few feelings associated with that.
I'm not buying that one. How do you feel towards it? How do you feel about that? I'm a part of you. How do you feel about that? What comes up right now?
Shame.
Thank you. What are you ashamed about, you know?
That it is a weakness.
And you must not be weak.
Correct.
Because if you're weak, then what?
I won't be able to take care of those I love.
So you're located there, it's here in the chest area. Just put your attention on it right now. And I'm looking at this blockage or sense of blockage. What does it want to say to you? Soothing.
Yeah. Desiring.
It is wanting soothing.
Yeah.
If you're in touch with this sense here that you just identified, how familiar is it to you? How far does it go back?
7. That's when I lost my mother, but it was present before that.
Okay. So what does it need from you?
To be held.
Like your mother might have loved you.
Yeah.
So when it arises, my advice is don't try and figure out how better to do your work, or how better to be present, or any of that, or how will I fulfill my calling. Your calling is really clear. But this part of you, guess what? It needs to be heard and seen. Okay? Yeah?
That makes sense.
That's good. Any questions? Oh, that's good. That means you're paying attention. What do you, can he call you something?
Oh yeah, he called me a monster. He's called me delusional.
How do you feel when he calls you a monster?
I mean, I feel hurt. I feel angry.
Okay. So what if I said to you, you have beautiful green hair? How would you feel about that?
Laugh. I would.
What would you laugh? What would you laugh?
Because I know my hair's not green.
Uh-huh. What if I said you were a monster?
The feeling of the anxiety was so strong that I wanted to end it.
Anything familiar about any of that?
Are you trying to go back to childhood trauma?
Who? Me? You see that you develop the belief that I can't be touched, nothing can touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happens when you get sick?
Mm-hmm.
That defense is now destroyed.
Wow.
I ask people to tell me some recent episode when they're upset with somebody with their lives. And something that they're open to sharing, so it doesn't have to be anything sordid or thing. But just, you know, whether it's your spouse, partner, the bus driver, I don't care.
Sure.
A friend. Okay, so what happened?
Describe it.
What happened? Yeah.
All right, there were a number of issues in my home, and I had hired someone to do these things
Right.
while I was gone.
Okay.
And I came back and none of them were fixed.
Okay. And your emotional reaction was?
Anger.
Anything else besides anger?
I was disappointed.
Disappointed is sadness.
Let's go with that.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a silly question. What were you sad and angry about?
Well, angry that someone had made commitments to me and not fulfilled those commitments.
What does that mean that they didn't fulfill their commitments?
Meant that they didn't care about me, that they didn't respect me.
So they didn't care about you, they didn't respect you. What kind of person doesn't get cared or respected?
I don't know. Someone who doesn't deserve to be cared for or respected.
Exactly. Are there other reasons why this other person might not have done the work that has nothing to do with him or her not caring about him or not respecting him? So what other reasons might there be?
He had a flight delay and got caught on Puerto Rico during a hurricane.
Yeah, he's got ADHD.
Yeah.
He can't follow through. Any number of possibilities.
Yeah.
Now, of all the possibilities that you just outlined, including that they don't care about you or respect you, which is the worst one?
The one I immediately defaulted to.
So let's notice something. I should say we, because we're all like this, we don't respond to what happens. We respond to our perception of what happens.
Right.
Okay? That's what the Buddha said. It's with our mind to create the world. Number two, for all the possible interpretations, we choose the worst one. Thirdly, what I just said isn't true.
Yeah, I guess I should zoom
It's not
in.
like you went through all this
Zoom it out a little bit.
And you said,
Alright, that gets the upper portion of the ergot rye woman
my question is why?
adjusted a little better.
First time in your life that you felt very angry.
So I'm going to take
When you
the
perceive
last
something
few
you felt
minutes
very
on the
angry.
session and just reinforce the
And
dark
most people like it goes back
surround the
Yes.
center
into childhood. Okay? And
of
that's what
each
trauma is. We
surrounding
don't respond to the present
space
moment. We respond to the past.
and
So who's
deep
the
in
one
the
that doesn't
center
care about you, and who's the one that
of
doesn't
it.
treat you with your respect?
No, it'd be me.
It would be you.
with the Payne's Gray phthalo blue mixture.
Is that when you reframe things and you actually see the source within ourselves, all of a sudden, that's liberating. Because guess what? If you're feeling that way because this guy did this or didn't do that, that makes you a victim.
Yeah.
But if you see that you're the source, now you're powerful. Can you have a vision of society that incorporates the achievements of modern civilization while at the same time still honors the essence of human nature? I think the answer is yes. I know the answer is yes. Not that I expect to see it in my lifetime. You need trauma-informed medical care, trauma-informed education, and trauma-informed therapy.
Everybody that has listened to talk or read his book always said to me, I don't feel like I'm a bad person. I can see their heads higher. Yeah, they're still using substances, but something inside of them is starting to change. That's their shame is kind of dissipating.
Without what's coming across his book, I tell you, I would have been a different person. Childhood trauma is key because once you understand that, really you're a child and you didn't have help, and if it's about love, then why are we locking them up?
Underneath that traumatized persona, there's the healthy individual who has never found expression in his life. If you see that, then you're trauma informed. It's not a question of healing your trauma or getting rid of the memory of what happened, but to help that person expand so that there's space for all those emotions.
Dr. Mate, he allowed me to feel that what I was seeing was a humanistic crisis. It was a human not being identified in the light in which they deserve to be. We as caretakers in this world need to see the human in front of us, not the problem.
Do we still have each other's numbers? Yeah. Call me. Yeah. Okay.
So good to see you.
How have you been?
It cannot be a general construct of this is how we're dealing with people who are homeless. This is how we are dealing with people who are addicted to drugs. No. This is how we deal with Sarah. This is how we deal with Jose. This is how we are in relationship with each and every person experiencing trauma within their lives. That is what has been the essence to his teaching for me.
Oh, who's this? Hi, Faith. How are you doing? Hey, are you his little companion?
When we start the journey of being compassionate with ourselves, not only does it change ourselves, it changes our communities and our society.
Today, I'm still healing. I'm still healing from my abandonment issues. I'm a lifer inmate. Being here today, witnessing all you guys' traumatic experiences gives me motivation, gives me inspiration to continue on the path that I'm currently on.
Every human being is a true, genuine, authentic self. And that true, genuine, authentic self can never be pursued.
When people say you have a second chance in life, today I know what that means. So I performed for the first time.
Whoa, shit, as I fall off the stool. That'd be funny.
400 people. That was a dream come
I wouldn't
true.
see it, I guess it'd
was
just be a
able
loud
to
thump.
reunite with my mother.
Alright, I killed the mega lamp there
God blessed me with this,
to
my
shut down the
4-year-old
glare so you
daughter.
can see a little more clearly what I've
To
just done.
myself, and I said, listen, I want to be a mom. I want to be a good mom. The baby's dad is also with me.
So that deepens up the surrounding color, makes the aura more pronounced around the sun and the Rai woman, and gets her head starting to be a little bit more detailed. Cool. So I think that's it for the moment. Thank you for watching Earth. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting Medusa's crown. Have a good night.